Ohio Governor John Kasich has been a vocal critic of President Trump's and ran against him for the Republican nomination. Governor Kasich, good to see you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Pathetic, isn't it? Just pathetic listening to this and hearing these marchers. Think if you were a 8, 9, or 10-year-old getting ready to go to school like they are in Ohio, and you happen to come from a Jewish family, or if you're African American, and you hear this kind of hatred. And we know about bullying that goes on in the schools, and what are we doing to our children? And to not condemn these people who went there to carry out violence and to somehow draw some kind of equivalency to somebody else reduces the ability to totally condemn these hate groups.
Well, let me ask you.
I know about them, Savannah and Matt. I know about them.
So when you listen to...
Let me tell you something.
When you listened to the president speaking yesterday and you heard his comments saying blame on both sides and that there were some very fine people who took part in that neo-Nazi white nationalist rally, in your heart and in your gut, what did you feel?
It's terrible. You know, this is terrible. The President of the United States needs to condemn these kind of hate groups. Think about what you have seen. You know, as one of the reporters said, reminiscent of what we saw in Germany in the 1930s. The president has to totally condemn this. And this is not about winning an argument. This is about the fact that now these folks apparently are going to go other places and they think that they had some sort of a victory. There is no moral equivalency between the KKK, the neo-Nazis, and anybody else. Anybody else is not the issue. These folks went there to disrupt. I was unveiling a Holocaust memorial right here in Ohio, and we had to put the ceremony inside of a theater because we were worried that people from the neo-Nazi, the KKK would come and throw concrete at the people who were gathered to honor those people who were slaughtered, and not just the people in the Jewish communities, but across the board. And we had to move it inside of a theater because of violence. This is a very serious matter.
I keep thinking about our politics today and how everyone is so divided, and you're either wearing a Trump T-shirt or you're not. But isn't this on just a totally different level? I mean, you're talking about an ideology that people died in this country to fight against, the Nazis. And here you see a video of this rally, and they're saying things that the Nazis said.
Look, when there's no human decency, it leads to disorder, which is what we saw down there. And disorder leads to death. And we saw 3 people die. The young woman hit by the car, and we also saw 2 state troopers died trying to monitor the crowd.
Governor,
there's no place for politics here, and it's being unanimously condemned by people from one end of the spectrum to the other.
Okay, but they've condemned before. I mean, let's be honest about it. What should Republicans do? What do you do if you work in the Trump White House? What should you do?
Well, look, you know, I'm not working the Trump White House. I didn't endorse the man because I felt that he was a person of division. And I have been hoping, and I have been restrained in wanting him to be better. See, what's happening, the presidency is being reduced to another CEO job. The presidency is the most important job in the country. And there is a bitterness setting in that may not be able to be removed. And look, I want him to do well. I want Donald Trump to understand it's not about winning an argument. It's about bringing the country together. And it's not about having some argument trying to justify these people on the left who went to a sweet town like Charlottesville for purposes of bringing violence.
But he
needs to make it clear he doesn't. I mean, he's got to fix this, and Republicans have to speak out. Plain and simple. Who cares what party you're in?
You say you want him to do well, and yet there are people who are saying, you know what, this is the moment that the president has crossed a line, and it's not a fine line. It's a big, fat, definitive line, and that Republicans and Democrats, and by the way, you're a guy who by the end of the campaign, people said incredibly good things about your character and your message and what you stood for. Would you be willing to be the guy who goes around to Republican leaders and said, this is our moment, we will tell this president we no longer support him, period?
Well, Matt, look, he's our president, okay? And I'm here this morning speaking out as aggressively as I can. I hope that it will provide some courage to other people, and there are great numbers of people now speaking out. He is our president. But I want to say that he needs to correct what he has said. He's got to understand what the people of this country want, and he's got to bring us together. But you're not going to turn your back on the president. You're going to speak clearly and bluntly and say, get your act together. I lost a big ballot initiative here in Ohio, something I felt strongly about labor unions, and I got beaten soundly. And you know what I did that night? I said, I heard the people, and I'm going to listen to the people. President Trump needs to listen to the people before he takes this presidency in a place that is not acceptable for our country.
Governor John Kasich. Governor, thanks for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
God bless America.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.